conclusive battle between both Universe 7 and Universe 11 comes to a close as only seconds remain until the conclusion of the Tournament of Power, as both Jiren and Goku push one another in reaching their breaking point, as Goku goes as far as mastering Ultra Instinct. And with Goku mastering such an ability, did the episode feel right, as we already know that the conclusive battle of the Tournament of Power is going to house both Mastered Ultra Instinct Goku and Universe 11's Jiren to close out the Tournament of Power. What is going on, Dragon Ball fans? Welcome to my Dragon Ball Super episode 129 breakdown review entitled Limit Super Surpassed, Ultra Instinct Mastered, leading into the next exciting episode of Dragon Ball Super, which will not be premiering this week but instead on March 17th/18th of the month, as there is not going to be any episode coming up, but instead the final 2 episodes of Super will be airing at the end of the month. And again, a quick little plug before we begin: if you guys like the Dragon Ball content that I provide on this channel, then make sure you guys punch that subscribe button with notifications enabled to be the first to receive all the latest in Dragon Ball content and be a part of the Dragon Ball squad. And also don't forget to follow me on these social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, to stay connected with me at all times. Hashtag Dragon Ball Squad, as Dragon Ball Super episode 128 is now officially in the history books. And what a fight it was between Ultra Instinct Omen Goku and Jiren, pretty much having a very evenly fought battle until Jiren had the upper hand in pushing Goku as far enough in reaching a brand new level, that being the mastery of the Ultra Instinct power, which pretty much spells out disaster for somebody like Jiren, especially going into next week's episode. However, we are going to touch about the pros and the cons for Ultra Instinct later on in this episode, but this episode from a visual standpoint looked absolutely incredible. Going back and rewatching the episode on Crunchyroll pretty much allowed me to see more in depth and picking up little bits and details as you weren't able to pick up before, and realizing how big of a fight this was, in the idea that Goku and Jiren are fighting at such a pace where it's literally shattering the fabric of the tournament stage. Everything around them is crumbling. Even the spectator seats that the gods were sitting at are beginning to crumble, and that's due to the sheer amount of pressure, the mass behind all of their punches, their kicks, and the force behind their power pretty much signifies how big this is. And I do feel like, personally, as this episode carried on in, it was pretty much an evenly fought battle, and I do believe that Jiren for the most part had the upper hand. But let's be realistic here. Going into Dragon Ball Super episode 130 and beyond, we come to the understanding that Mastered UI Goku, or true Ultra Instinct, is going to be way more than enough for Jiren to even handle, and that's due to the idea that if we saw Jiren perform the way he did against Ultra Instinct Omen and was pretty much on the same kind of tier in terms of strength and feats, then going into this fight with Mastered UI Goku, it's pretty much going to be a slaughter for him, considering that Jiren can't really outperform that, I think, in the fact that Goku's going to be labeled, and is already labeled, as pretty much being indestructible. So we saw a bit of that towards the end of this episode once Goku transformed, in which was in a very godly fashion. We saw how when Goku was faced against Jiren after transforming further, there was absolutely no chance of survival for Jiren, because what Goku did after, what followed the events after, was in not only turning the tides on Jiren, but hitting him with such velocity, with such power, that nobody, and I mean nobody, was able to even pick up as to what Goku had done. His speed has increased. It was almost as if you went back in time and seeing the Gogeta fight with Omega and seeing how he was able to blitz him. That's what Goku did against Jiren. And personally, it's not really surprising to see the levels of power that Goku had just jumped to, but that also begs the question as to where he ranks in terms of equivalency next to the Angels, next to the Daishinkan. But this overall fight in the beginning was definitely in Jiren's favor. I think if it were not for Goku trying to transcend his own powers in discovering something higher than what he currently has, I think eventually in the long run the tides would have favored Jiren, because seeing how he was able to push Goku back to the point where if this was a setting to where Goku could have been killed, it is highly possible that Jiren could have done so, because we see that in the episode preview, Jiren was condensing and pretty much hiding his true power. And I know a lot of people want to go around saying that, well, Jiren must have used his true power here and there, but more or less going into next week's episode, or should I say the week after, we finally get to see how Jiren really has a different aura around him. It looks like the Ultra Instinct aura, except it looks red. Now don't quote me on that, you guys can go back and look at the episode preview for yourselves. It looks just like the blue aura Goku has around him, except it's only red. So I'm very curious to know firsthand as to what Jiren can really do. But this episode was artistically and visually just absolutely amazing. If anything, anything, one of the best looking episodes that we've seen in quite some time, even from the way Goku was moving from frame to frame and shaking off his head and, you know, staring at Jiren, the way they were fighting. It was just absolutely incredible. And the explosions, the environmental destruction was just off the charts. I think one of the best looking episodes, if anything, one of the top 5 within all of Super. Now, I also do want to mention how the gods seem to acknowledge what Goku had done towards the end of the episode, and that's mastered this ability. Now, it's very remarkable to me, and many of you guys may have picked it up towards the end of the episode, how Beerus was able to identify with the glow, identify with the aura, identify with the power, because he knew it, in which he asked Whis, did Goku do it? In which Whis implied by saying, yes, Goku had mastered Ultra Instinct, which there is no doubt about it. Goku has reached a new level of power to where even the other Hakaishin were able to acknowledge Goku's feats in standing up out of respect for Goku. Now, I also really did enjoy Belmont. Now, why did I enjoy Belmont so much? Because he was very desperate in this entire episode. The way Belmont was portrayed, you get to see the level of desperation in his tone, in the way he was observing the fight, because throughout the entire time that Goku was fighting Jiren, we see how Toppo acknowledged, and even the other Kaioshin acknowledged that, you know, the way they're fighting now, they might destroy the entire place, they might destroy the spectator seats, and even Belmont's like, I don't care, so as long as we win, that's the ultimate goal, is for us to survive. And I really did enjoy how, at first, during the first quarter of this episode, Belmont was bragging to Beerus and Vegeta about how Jiren was gonna decimate Goku, and then Vegeta more or less telling everybody how Goku was one of a kind and how he was going to master Ultra Instinct, in which everybody was looking at Goku and saying, well, okay, let's just see how he's going to do so, and by the end he did. And I really did enjoy how the other Kaioshin took notice, especially Beerus, in having to smile at the very end at Goku for doing such a thing and saying, what an unbelievable guy, which to Goku's credit, yeah, what an unbelievable guy, because Goku was able to jump from Super Saiyan to Super Saiyan 2 to Super Saiyan 3, Super Saiyan God, in Battle of Gods, having to transcend that and having to go into Resurrection of F and discovering Super Saiyan Blue, in which later on adapting Kaioken on top of Super Saiyan Blue, and then going into Ultra Instinct, and then finally having to perfect Ultra Instinct. So Goku had come such a long way, but I really do think that his fight with Jiren before mastering UI was very good, in the idea that really nobody had the upper hand until we see Jiren turn the tides and pushing Goku down with his attacks. And Goku, what I really did enjoy was how he was pretty much bent over trying to push all the attacks back and shield himself from Jiren's onslaught during the middle portion of this episode. And Jiren, I think to that extent, wasn't really truly trying, but more or less trying to adapt pressure and pushing Goku down. And even then, once again, going back to Belmont, he was happy, he was excited, he was saying, okay, well, we've just ensured our survival, until of course Goku broke through that. And I don't really see Jiren even coming out of this unscathed, unless they give Jiren some sort of a significant increase in power. I don't see any reason or any line that Jiren may come out of this unscathed in this fight with Master UI Goku. Now, also what I've noticed was Toppo noticed that during the fight with Goku, as Jiren was pretty much raining down a barrage of attacks on him, Toppo actually noticed that there were sparks. There were sparks emitting from Goku, in which Toppo went on to state that's the shock of the force that the fist hitting each other creates. And we see how during that moment, Toppo had acknowledged that Goku was still holding his own. However, I'll be honest, once again, I've said it before and I'll say it again, Goku mastering Ultra Instinct is a tad bit early. If only they had another arc, it would have made more sense then. But in the end, since this is the be-all end-all fight, I do believe that Goku at this given point, if what we saw from the episode preview is going to be the be-all end-all finale of this tournament, then there's no way that Jiren should even be remotely comparative to Goku at this given point. If by some chance we end up seeing Jiren on some sort of a comparative level to Ultra Instinct Goku in the upcoming episode, then you have to ask yourself, what kind of training did someone like Jiren go through for him to even be relative or anywhere near Mastered UI? And I think that by the end, Jiren will not be anywhere near Mastered Ultra Instinct, but instead he is going to be, you know, either slightly below or drastically below if Goku's going to just completely mollywop him in the end, which I do think is going to be the case, because looking at how all the gods acknowledged his power, seeing as to these two are really going all in, it's kind of really hard to say. Now, the one downside to this entire episode episode, I felt, was there was no sign or any mention of Frieza. Now, again, even if by some chance he was wrung out or eliminated or wherever, you know, they would have acknowledged that, but since, you know, Frieza's being kept in the background, I do believe that he's somewhere on the stage, it really bothers me how they're not saying anything about him. Even, you know, the spectators aren't acknowledging his presence and saying, wait a minute, since these two are here, where is Frieza? That could have been mentioned a long time ago, but instead, everyone have seemed to have forgotten where Frieza is, what he's doing, and, you know, for obvious reasons, and I do believe that it's very smart marketing in keeping Frieza in the background and not showing him. However, to me, I think this episode was definitely a 5 out of 5. Now, the reason why I give this episode a 5 out of 5 is because I haven't seen an episode artistically and visually this good in quite some time. The level of feats, to me, even though it is subjective, the way these two were fighting, the way they affected the entire surroundings of their area, I think was phenomenal. And I think that by the end, seeing how Goku pretty much blitzed Jiren after everything Jiren had done to everybody in this tournament was really cool to see. I'm not downplaying Jiren, I'm just saying that Jiren this entire time was blitzing everybody else, so now it's time for him to have a taste of his own medicine. So for me, this episode was, if anything, phenomenal, and most other episodes, they're not this good at all. There's poor writing, there's poor judgment and logic, but here, I felt as if the episode, to me, as a viewer, I definitely enjoyed it. Now again, you may not agree with me, you may say, okay, well, it's subjective to say this episode was 5 stars, because again, that's for your interpretation and your point of view to come up with a judgment for this episode. Whether or not it's a 1 star or a 5 star, that's entirely up to you, but I definitely feel like this episode visually was the episode that we've all been waiting for, and if anything, far surpassed the previous fights of episode 109 and 110, because those 2 episodes pretty much planted the seeds in the inevitable in seeing this rematch, and I feel like this episode pretty much told that story in giving us the rematch that we've all been looking forward to. However, I do also want to say that the one scene that I found to be very, very wacky was when Goku was able to push back Jiren's attacks from the sky, and then all of a sudden, once Goku clenched his arms together and he let out this ferocious roar, all of a sudden beneath him, we see like this galaxy open up. Whatever it is that opened up, it opened up, and from what Jiren had said, you know, this heat was something that you were building up in order to defeat me, but I felt as if, you know, the way Goku had handled this, it looked spectacular, but a little bit weird because they didn't really explain as to what that was beneath him. Even though, based on interpretation, it looked like an entire galaxy or a universe perhaps, all that was mentioned from the Omni Kings was, wow, 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 what is that? Is that the source of Goku's power? It didn't really, you know, have any explanation as to what it was, but it was pretty cool nonetheless. And I personally loved how Jiren cracked a smile in acknowledging Goku. However, we can only interpret that what Jiren unleashed against Goku was going to be maybe his final attack, because it looked like he poured a lot of his own energy into that blast. And as we saw, you know, Jiren unleash this power and this energy on Goku, Goku, after mastering the technique, you know, was behind Jiren, holding his own attack in his own hand and crushing it. So not only was that a beastly ass thing to do, but it was kind of questionable in the idea that, okay, well, how strong or how powerful was that blast in comparison to not just Goku's current powers, but even, you know, Ultra Instinct prior to him mastering that? Because from what it looked like, Jiren put all of his focus and his energy into that attack and telling Goku, okay, well, I'm going to respond to you in the idea that you're using your heat to defeat me. So I really did enjoy that. However, all that's really left to be said is the fact that I think that Goku's going to completely annihilate Jiren, because based on everyone's recognition to Ultra Instinct, based on the gods having to acknowledge Goku, in the literal fact that he has now become a god, I think that there's no chance that Jiren can even survive this unless, as I said before, they give Jiren some sort of a significant power increase to where he's relative to that kind of opposition. And I also do want to say one thing, because this is never looked at too much and is basically always overshadowed by the visuals and the animation of the episode, but the music in this episode was absolutely phenomenal. I will go on record once again in saying that Sumitomo's music is a lot better than Bruce Falconer's, a lot better than Kai's music. I think Sumitomo's music, I think, captivates and captures the moments of Dragon Ball Super so well, and this episode, I think, was a prime example in seeing, you know, the score and the way everything was just pretty much handled. I think it allowed the episode to feel that much more important. So by the end of it, I really did enjoy this. If anything, one of my favorite episodes in the entire Tournament of Power. But in the end, I would like to know what you guys have to say down in the comment section below. What are your overall thoughts thoughts as to what's going to be expected for Dragon Ball Super Episode 130? What are your thoughts on Jiren and UI Goku having to be on a comparative level, very evenly fought battle between the two, but going into this upcoming episode with Goku mastering Ultra Instinct and seeing where he stands, what are your overall thoughts as to where this may take Goku, and what are your overall thoughts as to what's to be expected in the finale between Goku and Jiren? What are your overall thoughts on Goku winning? Because as of this recording, it is blatantly obvious that Goku is going to win as of this point, especially with his mastered UI abilities. However, is there a possible chance that maybe Jiren could be hiding something that will give him the advantage in this fight? Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Thank you all so much for watching, guys. Once again, if you guys are new to this channel, don't forget to go ahead and punch that subscribe button and turn on all notifications. That way you guys can be notified whenever a brand new video is posted onto this channel. If you guys are not following me on Twitter or Snapchat, you guys can find the links to those down below. Tune back in for more if you guys enjoyed. Slap a like down below, and I'll be seeing you all down in the comment section below. Cue my outro, bitch.